Hello and welcome to the BE Knowledge Share. In this episode, we talk about the perspectives specifically around business architecture. So without further ado, let's get started. So business architecture perspective highlights the unique characteristics of business analysis when practiced in the context of business architecture. Business architecture models the enterprise in order to show how strategic concerns of key stakeholders are met and support ongoing business transformation efforts. Business architecture provides architectural descriptions and views referred to as blueprints to provide a common understanding of the organization for the purpose of aligning strategic objectives with tactical demands. The discipline of business architecture applies in analytical thinking and architectural principles to the enterprise level. The solutions may include changes in the business model, operating model, organizational structure, or drive other initiatives. Business architecture follows certain fundamental architectural principles. Let's look at the first one, scope. The scope of business architecture is the entire enterprise. It is not a single project, initiative, process, or piece of information. It puts projects, processes, and information into the larger business context to provide an understanding of interactions, integration of opportunities, redundancies, and inconsistencies. Separation of concerns. Business architecture separates concerns within its context. It specifically separates what the business does from the information the business uses, how the business is performed, who does it, and where in the enterprise it is done, when it is done, why it is done, and how well it is done. Once the independent concerns are identified, they can be grouped in specific combinations or mappings, which can be used to analyze targeted business issues. Now, scenario driven. There are very many different questions that a business tries to answer to provide the blueprint for alignment. Each of these different questions or business scenarios requires a different set of blueprints containing a different set of information and relationships with different types of outcomes and measures to determine success. Knowledge-based. While the primary goal of business architecture is to answer these business questions, a secondary but important goal is to collect and catalog the different architectural components, what, how, why, etc., and the relationships in a knowledge base so they can quickly and easily be used to help answer the next business question that comes up. The knowledge base is often managed in a formal architectural repository. Change scope is, let's look at that from that perspective. The breadth of business architecture may be performed. So before we get into that, right? So at an enterprise level in bigger organizations or companies and enterprises, there's a business architecture group, and there should be one that really funnels through any sort of business need that comes through to basically say, hey, does this fit in the blueprint that was established for this industry? As an example, the banking industry may have specific blueprints of their functional departments, such as marketing, such as sales, such as finance. And as needs come through, the roles of a business architect would be to understand what the needs are and how does that fit into this bigger picture of the organization. As an example, there could be a regulatory requirement to impose sales tax on a specific item, and this could be in the retail industry. So the business architect would take that information as a need, an external need, and they would assign the impacts or would do some sort of impact analysis to determine, hey, where does this rule fit into which department? Does it impact marketing? Does it impact sales? Does it impact accounting? So they would kind of fit the big puzzle into different components and determine how does this impact or how does this fit into the blueprint. So let's look at it from the breadth of change perspective. Business architecture may be performed across the enterprise as a whole, across a single line of business within the enterprise, or across a single functional division. So in the example of applying like a sales tax or increasing the sales tax, now we were looking at it from an enterprise level. Now, there may be an architect assigned to a specific line of business or a specific functional department. The depth of change. A business architecture effort may focus on the executive level of the enterprise to support strategic decision making or on the management level to support the execution of initiatives. While business architecture provides important context, it does not usually operate at the operational decision or process level. Instead, it assesses processes at the level of the value stream. Value and solutions. Delivered business architecture using the principle of separation of concerns develops models that decompose a business system, solution, or organization into individual elements with specific functions and shows the interaction between them. The element of business architecture models include capabilities, value, processes, information and data, organization, reporting and management, stakeholders, security strategies, and outcomes. Number 4 is delivery approach. Business architecture creates a planning framework that provides clarity and insight into the organization and assets decision makers in identifying required changes. The architectural blueprints provided by the business architecture provide an insight and understanding of how well the organization aligns to its strategy. This insight is a trigger for the change or other planning activities for each blueprint provided. Business architecture may define the current state and the future state, one or more transition states, environment and industry trends, structure and reporting relationships, value streams, capabilities, processes, information and data stores, and how all these items or elements align to support the strategy of the organization. Major assumptions to make business architecture useful to organization. Business analysts require a view of the entire organization that is under analysis, full support from the senior leadership, participation of business owners and subject matter experts, an organizational strategy to be in place, a business imperative to be addressed. So this change, let's look at it from a scoping perspective. The change sponsor, ideally, the sponsor of a business architecture initiative is a senior executive or business owner within the organization. However, the sponsor may also be a line of business owner. Change targets. The following list identifies the possible primary change targets resulting from a business architecture analysis: business capabilities, business value streams, initiative plans, investment decisions, and portfolio decisions. The following groups of people use business architecture to guide change within the organization: management at all levels of the organization, product or service owners, operational units, solution architects, project managers, and business analysts working in the context. Now, where does a business analyst fall into all this? The goal of business analysts working within the discipline of business architecture is to understand the entire enterprise context and provide balanced insight into all the elements and the relationships across the enterprise, provide a holistic, understandable view of all the specialties within the organization. Business architecture provides a variety of models to the organization. These models or blueprints provide holistic insight into the organization. To develop a business architecture, the business analyst must understand, assimilate, and align a wide variety of specialties that are of strategic concern to the organization. To do this, they may require insight, skills, and knowledge from business strategy and goals, conceptual business information, enterprise IT architecture, process architecture, and business performance and intelligence architecture. Business analysis outcomes. The business architecture provides a broad scope and a holistic view for business analysis. The general outcomes of business architecture include the alignment of the organization to its strategy, the planning of change and the execution of strategy, and ensuring that as change is implemented, it continues to align to the strategy. There are a couple of tools or deliverables that are created, such as the business capability maps, value stream maps, organization maps, business information concepts, high-level process architecture, and business motivation models. Reference models and techniques. As far as reference models are concerned, They are predefined architectural templates that provide one or more viewpoints for a particular industry or function that is commonly found across multiple sectors. Reference models are frequently considered the default architecture ontology for the industry or function. They provide a baseline architecture starting point that business architects can adapt to meet the needs of their organization. There's a table in the BAPOC guide that you may want to reference in order to get some more details around the reference models. Some of the underlying competencies, I'm not going to go through all the list, is a high tolerance for ambiguity and uncertainty, the ability to put things in a broader context, the ability to transform requirements and context into a concept of design of the solution, the ability to suppress unnecessary detail to provide higher level views, the ability to think in long time frames over multiple years, the ability to deliver tactical outcomes which simultaneously provide immediate value and contribute to achieving business strategy, the ability to interact with people at the executive level, the ability to consider multiple scenarios or outcomes, the ability to lead and direct change in the organization, and a great deal of political acumen. So I would recommend going to the BAPOC guide to really understand the impact on the knowledge areas, techniques used, as it would give you a better understanding about how those 6 knowledge areas weave into this business architecture perspective. That being said, this ends the episode around business architecture in the perspectives chapter of the BAPOC guide. If you do find value in these episodes, please do consider subscribing. There's a baknowledgeshare.com website you may want to consider visiting. I do add some articles that are not part of this YouTube channel, as well as if you do consider joining a Facebook group, the link has been provided below. That being said, until next time, see you then.